Well, it's very easy to sit here and brag because I think a lot of rock and roll musicians have a tendency to fantasize what they do in their spare time to try to one-up each other. But in my case, it's all true. But Australia has always been phenomenal for us. When we first came here in 1980, it was dubbed Casteria. The people have always been spectacular, and the country has a familiarity for me, but at the same time, it has an identity all its own, and the women are spectacular. You also don't know how to make a bad Shiraz. So, everything's terrific here and always has been.
Why so popular here, do you think? I mean, in a sense, it's probably a silly question because you're just so incredibly popular wherever, whichever market you've tried to get into, it's worked. But that thing with Australia, and I guess that pretty raw sort of rock and roll attitude that you find here, is that the thing? Is that the connection?
I think we have a real positive energy about us. I think, KISS has always been about self-empowerment and about believing in yourself and feeling that anything is possible if you work hard for it. So it's all good stuff, and we're a nice bunch of guys, and we do a hell of a show.
You do a hell of a show. How are the knees? How's the voice?
Everything changes. You'd be a fool to think that life doesn't take its toll. But that being said, I'm holding up pretty well. Anybody who thinks they're the same person they were when they were 23 instead of 63 is either a fool or senile.
Well, the smart thing about you, and musicians like you, I guess, who have endured, is that you understood very early on that this muscle, these vocal cords needed to be taken care of. You actually have a pretty good sort of understanding of what they do and what they need in order to last. So how is the voice holding up?
It's okay, again, nobody gets out unscathed. It really is biomechanics. What happens as you get older is that your vocal cords stiffen, unlike other parts of your body that tend to not stiffen as much. But you write songs in your 20s that you never, ever consider singing in your 60s. You just have to look at any of my contemporaries, with one or two glaring exceptions. Everybody's, fighting the same thing. And we all, very funny, we all talk about it.
Is the falsetto still in place?
Falsetto's really in place. I mean,
good.
That's pretty pristine, wholeheartedly. And
how would that work?
Why wouldn't it work? Teams, I always draw the analogy to a sports team. Teams don't fold because their star player retires. Why should we? Armies don't stop. It may be a new model, so to speak, because other bands can't do it. But we're not other bands. KISS has made a career by breaking the rules. We don't live by other people's rules. And maybe it's genetics, maybe you're predisposed to certain things, but look, I saw people dropping around me. I saw people lose their creativity, lose their joie de vivre, their love of life. I looked at it and said, at all costs, let's avoid this. So it may not have been cool in terms of what the critics deemed rock and roll, but I'm here, and a lot of other people seem to go at about 27.
Are you and Gene still good friends?
I think we're more family. It's hard to describe our relationship other than to say we're like brothers. We live very close to each other, never or virtually never go to each other's homes.
You said something very funny about how close he lives to you.
Yeah, I said he lives so close to me I can see his ego from my house. So, we've been together 40 plus years. I think it's 46 years at this point.
I want to go back to that beginning because it is interesting to imagine what the two of you were like when you met at high school and when you decided you wanted to play music together. And you've spoken most movingly about this, in your recent autobiography about how hard your early life was. Can you describe that young Paul Stanley for me who met Gene?
I had a dream of what I wanted to accomplish, and it was mainly a way to get out of what I was in.
Tell us what you were in.
Well, I was born with a birth defect. I didn't have a right ear. I'm deaf on that side. My family, although very well-meaning, were not as either supportive or knew how to deal with a lot of issues that I went through or my sister went through. So I really saw succeeding as a way to show people that they should have been my friend, and that they were wrong about me, and that I was wrong about myself. I was fortunate enough to become successful. And when you become successful, then you're faced with the reality that you're still not happy. So then you either put a gun in your mouth, a needle in your arm, or you roll up your sleeves and get to work. And I'm more the kind of person who rolls up their sleeves and tries to figure out what's really wrong.
It's been such an interesting journey, and from that boy who was a really sad boy, clearly, to a young, successful rock star who was still sad.
And no matter what riches and no matter what you surround yourself with, whether it's, in my case, whether it's beautiful women or money or cars or clothing, it means nothing, because at the end of the day, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're either happy with yourself or not. So, it really came down to figuring out who I am and what it would take to make a great life. Ultimately, it's about family, it's about children, and it's about what you give back. I'm driving the kids to school in the morning or picking them up, and those are the things that are important.
So, Paul, if you can imagine then the KISS going on without you, do you have a time frame here for when you plan to sort of anoint the successor and sit in the bleachers and watch?
About an hour from now.
No. After the show, right?
Okay, after the show.
Paul Stanley, it's been a real pleasure meeting you. Thanks so much.
I'll let you know first.
Thank you. Yes, please do.
Please.
Thanks.